Today is my brother's wedding, the only family I have left. I wanted to face this day with a bright and happy heart. But the bride's parents, who looked down on the scars on my face, hurled cruel words at me when I arrived at the venue.
Why are you here? That scar is unbearable to look at. I can't stand you bringing shame to the family.
The bride, Michelle, arrogantly added, "I'm the star of the day. Read the room." If they despise me this much, I'll have to reveal the shocking truth. Well then, let the surprise event begin. My one and only best friend confidently grabbed the mic.
Listen, everyone. I will now share the bride's hidden past.
Michelle and her parents turned pale, and the venue instantly descended into chaos. My name is Sarah Connor. I'm in my 30s and work from home. I live with my brother, James, and we have no other family. Our parents passed away in a car accident when I was in high school. In that same accident, I was left with a permanent scar on my face. Losing my parents and being scarred made me feel completely cut off from the world. But during those times, it was James who supported me. He never forced me, a withdrawn teenager, to go back to school. Instead, he stayed by my side when things were tough, cooking meals like a mother and taking care of the house. As time passed, my emotional wounds began to heal little by little. I was even able to return to my school. But one careless remark from my classmate hurt me again, and I couldn't go anymore. Even so, I had one friend who opened my heart. Her name was Monica. She didn't care about the scar on my face at all. When I couldn't attend school, she would visit me. It's because of those two people that I've made it this far. One day, James told me he had something important to share.
Sarah, I've been seeing someone, and I'm thinking it's time to settle down.
Congratulations, James. You've done so much for me. I really hope you'll be happy.
Thank you. So, I'd like you to meet her and her family.
Sure. I'm available anytime, so let's go with whatever works best for you and her. Since I work from home, my schedule is flexible. And so it was decided that both families would meet on Sunday at a fine dining restaurant. From our side, it would be just James and me, while from the other side, his fiancée Michelle and her parents would attend. Before the meeting, I consulted my best friend Monica about makeup and fashion.
So, James is finally getting married. It's going to feel a bit lonely.
Monica said this as she applied makeup to my face. She works at a department store cosmetics counter and is great at makeup. On special days, I always rely on her to help cover my scars as much as possible. It might feel a little lonely, but I just want to see James happy.
Yeah, that's true. All right, how does it look? Done.
When I looked in the mirror, it was much better than what I could do myself. While the scars couldn't be completely hidden, they were far less noticeable. Thanks. Well, I'll be off now. At the restaurant's entrance, James was already waiting for me.
You're early. They're not here yet, so let's wait in the room.
James and I waited in a private room. About 20 minutes past the scheduled time, Michelle and her parents arrived. Sorry to keep you waiting, James. Michelle walked in wearing a pale pink dress. The moment she saw me, her expression changed. Wait, you're his sister? Yes, I'm Sarah. Michelle's parents entered and greeted us, but Michelle avoided looking at me. What's going on? Despite my confusion, James and Michelle's parents were having a pleasant conversation.
James graduated from a prestigious university and now works for a top company. So he's a reliable partner for Michelle.
I was worried when I heard he didn't have parents, but James seems dependable.
Interrupting their conversation, Michelle said,
I'm going to the restroom. Mom, would you like to join me?
She left the room with her mother, Emily. It was quite a while before they returned. Just then, James' phone rang.
Excuse me, I need to take this call.
James said and left the room. Michelle's father, Steve, turned to me and asked,
Sarah, was it? Did you also graduate from a prestigious university like James?
"Oh no. Actually, I lost my parents when I was in high school, which made it hard for me to continue school." I told him the truth.
Both of you siblings are impressive. Or so I thought. Guess not. So, just a high school diploma?
Steve said this with a slightly condescending tone. Well, I tried to dodge the question, but there was no point in hiding it. Even if I lied, it would eventually come out. I steeled myself and answered, "Actually, I didn't attend much of high school in the later years, but I managed to finish high school."
Most people in our family are college graduates. So hearing about a high school diploma is, well,
He gave a faint smirk of disdain. Next, Emily spoke up.
Sarah, is that scar on your face from the accident?
Yes, it was.
How unfortunate. I can see you're trying to hide it, but it's not completely concealed, is it?
Her sudden comment left me both shocked and deeply hurt by her blatant prejudice.
About Michelle and James' wedding, could you not attend?
Then she continued with words that made me gasp.
What do you mean I shouldn't attend my only sibling's wedding?
Your appearance. A wedding is a celebration, and I think scars from an accident bring bad luck. Emily said this bluntly.
We want James and Michelle's wedding to be perfect. That unfortunate scar will appear in the family photos if you're there. We can't distribute those to relatives, so we'd prefer if you don't attend the ceremony. Well, there's still some time before the wedding, so think it over carefully. It's all for James' sake.
Just after Emily said this, James returned.
Sorry to keep you waiting. I just got a congratulatory call from my client.
James said this with a smile.
James is such a trusted and capable employee, both inside and outside the company, that it's only natural for people to reach out with congratulations.
Steve, who seemed to know James through publishing industry connections, spoke as if proud of him. Unlike their earlier treatment of me, Michelle's family seemed utterly indifferent to James' absence from the room. What kind of people are these? Their treatment of James and me was worlds apart. James is undeniably well-educated and a rising star in his company, having become a manager at a young age. I, on the other hand, am a high school diploma with a facial scar. But does that justify being looked down upon by people I just met? I couldn't help but feel a deep incompatibility with Michelle's family. However, James and Michelle seemed to get along well, and judging by the lunch meeting, her parents treated James normally. Should I celebrate their marriage or skip the wedding altogether? Unable to decide on my own, I turned to my best friend Monica for advice. When I told her everything that had happened at the meeting, she was furious.
That family is out of line. Telling you, his only sibling, not to attend the wedding? That's beyond ridiculous.
Monica's anger made me feel a bit relieved.
Sarah, you don't need to listen to people like that. Plus, why don't you tell James the truth? If he realizes what kind of family they are, he might reconsider the marriage.
But if it ends up ruining their marriage because of me?
Don't worry about that. Sarah, you and James are family. It's only natural to care for each other.
Encouraged by Monica's words, I decided to talk to James about it. When I told him that Michelle's family had asked me not to attend his wedding, James responded,
Don't worry about them. Please come to my wedding.
A little later, I received a call from an unfamiliar number. Wondering who it could be, I answered, and it was Michelle, James' partner.
Is it true that you're planning to attend the wedding?
She asked me over the phone. Of course, James is my precious family, I replied. Michelle sighed heavily and said,
The wedding is my big day. Everyone's coming to celebrate me. If you're there, you'll draw all the attention away. And besides, those scars from the accident bring bad luck.
But I started to respond, but Michelle cut me off.
Your attitude of not caring about what others think, like nothing ever bothers you. That's something I've hated about you from the beginning.
Wait, from the beginning? I asked, shocked. Have we met before?
Well, that's not what I meant. Just a figure of speech. Anyway, don't come to the wedding. All my friends are beautiful, and if you're there, you'll stand out in a bad way.
With that, Michelle hung up the phone. It was clear she still disliked me. But what really stuck with me was her comment about from the beginning. I called Monica to talk about the conversation I'd had with Michelle. From the way Michelle was speaking, it's like she knows me. But she's so beautiful, so I would have remembered meeting someone like her. And it's like she doesn't want me to figure out who she really is. Monica, do you know anything about Michelle? I asked her about Michelle.
Got a picture? Show me.
I showed her the photo James had sent me.
Wow, she's gorgeous. But no, I don't recognize her.
Monica didn't seem to recognize her either.
What's her name again?
Michelle. Michelle Hoffman.
Wait, Michelle Hoffman? That name sounds familiar.
Monica thought for a moment before exclaiming.
Oh. I remember now.
We decided to discuss it in detail. Finally, the day of the wedding arrived. With Monica's help, I put on makeup to hide the scar on my face. Monica's skills were as amazing as ever, and with my hairstyle to cover the scar, it was barely noticeable. When I arrived at the venue, the receptionist looked puzzled when I gave them my name.
Ms. Sarah Connor, we've been informed that you're unable to attend due to illness.
No, I'm here. That's definitely Michelle's doing. It must be part of her scheme. Did the bride say that? If you ask the groom, you'll see that I'll be attending. The staff checked with James, and after confirming, they quickly prepared my seat. Once I sat down, Michelle's parents were glaring at me. Emily stood up, smiled at those around her, and walked toward me. Then, standing right in front of me, her smile disappeared and she started yelling.
I told you not to come. It's a problem that you, with that scar on your face, are here. A hideous monster is a disgrace to the family. Go home quietly.
I've hidden the scar. Please allow me to stay since today is an important day for James. When I spoke up, she muttered something bitterly and returned to her seat.
Don't outshine my daughter.
The ceremony began, and the doors opened as James and Michelle entered. When Michelle spotted me, she widened her eyes and glared at me. Her nasty expression beneath her white dress was rather striking. The ceremony proceeded smoothly. As the newlyweds began making their rounds, Michelle approached my seat. She casually leaned in and whispered, though with deliberate intent,
The star of today is me, you know? Reads the room. I've never liked your attitude of being so indifferent to everything.
"Well, everyone knows the bride's the star of the wedding. I'm just here to celebrate James. But if you want to act that way, I've got a little surprise for you." Then it was time for the entertainment. The main event turned out to be my best friend Monica. She confidently took the mic and began her speech.
James, Michelle, congratulations. I'm Sarah's best friend, and I actually went to high school with Michelle.
I could see Michelle's face turning pale.
Now, let me tell you about how the two of them spent their school days. First, let's start with the bride.
As Monica said this, Michelle shouted at her.
Stop.
It seemed she had realized what we were up to. But Monica carried on calmly.
Take a look at the screen. This is what Michelle looked like in high school.
On the screen, a completely different version of Michelle appeared. A plump girl with a body shape that couldn't be described. Her face was completely different from the one she had now. Monica continued her introduction while holding the mic.
As you can see, Michelle has become quite beautiful. That's why none of our classmates or even the groom's sister recognized her.
The room was filled with murmurs of surprise, and I heard voices saying,
Wait, seriously.
She looks completely different.
Did she get plastic surgery?
Actually, Michelle wasn't just a classmate of Sarah, the groom's sister. Back in high school, Sarah was very popular, and Michelle was jealous of her. So, after Sarah lost her parents in a car accident and was left with a scar, Michelle isolated her and made it difficult for her to stay at school. And, it seems Michelle had plastic surgery 4 times in South Korea. This came straight from one of her old classmates.
The sudden revelation caused an uproar in the venue, turning it into complete chaos. Standing beside Michelle, James' face turned pale.
Michelle, did you hurt Sarah like that?
No, you've got it all wrong. Yes, we were classmates, and I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. But as you can see, I've changed a lot. That's why I didn't think anyone would recognize me, so I didn't mention it.
Michelle tried to defend herself. I stood up and stepped forward to confront her. "I stopped going to school because you said, 'How sad, losing your parents in an accident and being left with that scar.' Every time people see that scar, they'll think of your dead parents, laughing in front of everyone in class." The guests began murmuring in sympathy for me, saying things like, "That's horrible." Flustered, Michelle protested.
Don't dig up things from when we were kids. I'd never say anything like that now.
I responded immediately. "What are you talking about? You haven't changed at all. You told me not to come to the wedding because my scar was unlucky. Your parents also told me to stay away. It hurt me so much. You might have polished your appearance, but you're still the same person inside." At this, Michelle's parents stood up and shouted angrily.
How dare the groom's sister act so high and mighty? Michelle is the star here, so sit down and stay out of the way.
James, who had been quietly listening to everything, stood up decisively.
The wedding is off. I can't become family with people who are okay with hurting my sister.
Michelle was stunned and grabbed James' arm, pleading.
We're in the middle of the wedding. You can't call it off now. Stop joking.
James calmly replied.
Joking? I've never been more serious. I was genuinely ready to marry you, but you've disrespected my feelings.
Michelle was left speechless as tears ruined her once perfect makeup, leaving her face a mess. Meanwhile, Monica, James, and I all wore bright expressions.
Shall we go?
James said with a smile, and the three of us left the venue. A few days later, Michelle and her family showed up at our house. As soon as they stepped into the living room, Michelle lashed out at me.
This is all your fault. You ruined my wedding.
Do you even understand what you've done? A high school diploma like you has brought shame to my family. How are you going to take responsibility for this?
Her parents sneered alongside her. Take responsibility? If that's what you want, I'll quit my job right now, I said quietly and picked up my phone. I was furious and ready to put my plan into action. If I'm not mistaken, Steve works at that publishing company, right? Steve glared at me and replied,
Yes, that's right. What about it?
I work with that company too, but I can't stand being associated with a company that employs someone like you. So I'll be canceling my contract.
Is that all? Sure. No problem. Workers are a dime a dozen. It won't affect us at all.
I understand. I'll terminate the contract immediately and sign with your competitor.
Go ahead.
Ignoring Steve's bold words, I called my editor and informed them about canceling my contract. The person on the other end was flustered, but I said what I needed to and hung up. Even after the call, Steve remained smug, leaning back in his chair. James, unaware of the situation, looked around in confusion. Soon, Steve's smartphone rang.
Hello? Yes, it's me. What? The president?
His tone shifted, and he began whispering, his face turning pale. When the call ended, Steve turned to me. His demeanor completely changed and asked humbly,
Are you that famous author?
Yes, I am. Why?
If you cancel the contract with us, my president is furious, and he says it's all my fault.
Steve stammered, clearly flustered. I did ask if it was all right to cancel the contract, didn't I? You said it didn't matter. That's all there is to it. I replied calmly. Seeing Steve's sudden shift in attitude, Michelle asked, puzzled.
Why are you being so submissive to a mere high school diploma?
What are you talking about? You wouldn't know because you don't read. But this person is a rising star in mystery writing. Her works are being adapted into TV dramas and movies. She's an incredibly talented author. She's on a completely different level than you, who spent hundreds of thousands on plastic surgery.
He scolded her sharply. What? Caught off guard by her father's unexpected rebuke, Michelle was stunned.
Well, that settles it. Please leave.
James firmly urged Michelle and her family to go.
James, don't leave me.
Michelle desperately clung to him. but James resolutely replied,
Goodbye.
"Now I feel at peace." After Michelle's family left, James turned to me and said,
Your novels are truly incredible.
"Yes, but it's all thanks to you, James. You've always supported me. It was your encouragement that helped me, someone who was reclusive, to immerse myself in books and the internet, eventually developing my writing skills." Thank you. Later, I signed with a new publisher and released a new book. It became my best-selling work to date and is set to be adapted into a TV drama next summer. I can't wait to see how things unfold from here. From my new editor, I learned that Steve had been demoted from editor-in-chief to a regular editor. He was likely held accountable for losing a popular author. This is what happens when you underestimate a remote worker. As for Michelle, she remained unmarried, was scolded by her father, and, devastated, quit her job and became a recluse. No matter how much you enhance your appearance with plastic surgery, it means nothing if you don't change on the inside. The harm she inflicted on others ultimately came back to her. And to my surprise, James ended up getting married. His partner, none other than my best friend Monica. Since the two of them had always been close, they're undoubtedly a perfect match. I truly wish my beloved brother and dear friend all the happiness in the world. I felt as though I could hear the laughter of our parents from the heavens above,